think it rained more up this way than it did that way. Cause I didn't get nothing hardly at the house. It was barely dripping off the roof.
It didn't rain at my house last night. It was showing everybody else good.
It moves through pretty fast.
Ready?
It just came up to Tyler County and kind of fizzled out again.
We ready? Okay. All right, Monday, September 25th, 2023, 10 a.m. Welcome to Tyler County Commissioners Court. Madam Clerk, was everything posted accordingly? We do have a quorum here today. We'd like to acknowledge our guests and welcome our guests here today. This is the practice of this governing body to exercise their invocation and the pledge of allegiance. Anyone present, this may bother you, can step out at this time. Commissioner Blackson, could you please?
Salute pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just come before you today with thankful hearts and thankful for another day of life, thankful for the rain. You're too good to us, and we're non-deserving of anything, Lord, but you choose to bless us. And I just thank you for blessing us. I pray that you would just continue to lead, guide, and direct us as we make decisions that impact our county, and help us to be honoring and glorifying to you above all. And we just thank you for everything you do, and pray for Troy again, Lord, that you might just touch him and heal his body. And I pray that you just be with our law enforcement, military, firefighters, and EMS workers, Lord, and just give them protection and give them strength to get up every day and to do the job. And so just thank you and love you in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 All right, do we have any public comments? All right. If there's no public comments, we will move to our previous tabled items. And it's Tyler County Precinct 2 in the city of Chester. Commissioner Hughes.
Motion to leave the table.
All right, there's a motion to leave the table.
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, same. All right, our agenda, we have some minutes from 8/21/23 and 9/18/23. Need a motion to accept the minutes.
Judge, we also have 7/10/23,
7/10.
7/12/23, and 8/25/23, correct, Ms. Tony?
Yes, sir.
And 8/25 and 8/25/23. All right, we need a motion to accept all those minutes.
Motion to accept minutes.
Second.
Second, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Do we have any monthly reports at this time?
No, sir, they've already all been approved.
All right. Number 4, our resolutions or proclamations or orders. We don't have any at this time. Item number 5A, budget amendments or line item transfers. Do we have any? All right. Item number B, I need a motion to pay county bills.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same. All right, item number C, Mr. Martin Gonzalez from TxDOT District Engineer will give a presentation to us here today. And this is over their campaign that TxDOT has created to end the street in Texas, a campaign to where, to raise awareness about the long streak of traffic deaths in Texas and how this issue impacts every Texan. Mr. Gonzalez, you may begin.
So, good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you all for having us here. So I'm Martin Gonzalez. I'm the District Engineer with TxDOT Beaumont District, and this is Sarah Dupre. She is a Management Analyst and Interim Public Information Officer for the Beaumont District as well. Thank you all for having us today. We wanted to come and visit with you all because, so this is something that we've been doing with every Commissioner's Court, and we've also been meeting with with different superintendents. We're trying to help to industry, right? I'll start out with a date, November 7th, 2000. Does anybody happen to know the significance of that particular date?
It's the last day without any auto fatalities in the state of Texas.
Good. Exactly. So November 7th, 2000 is the last deathless day on Texas state highways, right? So since that day, we've had at least one fatality each day. And on average, we have about 10 fatalities a day, which is it's a huge number, right? We do have a big state, but that's a pretty big number to have. In 2019, we were tasked by the Transportation Commission to try to get to zero fatalities by 2050 and cut it in half by 2035. So because of that task, it's pretty monumental, it's pretty big, and we require a lot of work and a lot of help to do that, right? So at TxDOT, we use the 3 E's: engineering, education, and enforcement. We have a 4th E that we use, which is emergency response. So we try to focus on, obviously at TxDOT, we focus on the engineering portion, right? We try to widen our roadways, make them safer. We do a lot of things that help to try to make things better for the traveling public. One of the things that we have, and what we're going to be sharing with you all today, is every month we look at the fatal crashes that happen throughout the district. Our district is made up of 8 counties, and within those 8 counties, over the past few years, we've had quite a few fatalities. In 2019, we had 117 fatalities. In 2020, we had 157. In 2021, we had 155. So 2020 and 21, we kind of call those the COVID years, right? We know that there was a lot less vehicles on the road, but people started taking more risks. And, that was kind of scary to see that, to see those numbers shoot up the way that they did, not only in the Beaumont district, but statewide. We all saw a lot more fatalities, really on average, on those 2 years in 20 and 21. We went from averaging 10 fatalities a day to 12. So we were averaging, as a state, 12 fatalities a day, which that was really difficult, right, to see. And we look at every fatality that comes through the district, and we try to see what it is that contributed to that fatality. So one of the things that we see, and with this data that we have that we're going to leave with you all, we notice that speed is a contributing factor, alcohol, and distracted driving. So one of the things we see here in the Beaumont district, and really we saw statewide, is single vehicle run off the road. A single vehicle run off the road, we dive into those fatals and see what is it that caused that. And we're trying to see, was somebody watching Netflix while they were doing that and they drove off the road, or were they arguing with their spouse, or were they trying to give snacks to their kids in the back seat? What happened to cause them to do that, right? And I know a lot of times people might think, well, if you just make the road wider, then people wouldn't drive off the road. But what ends up happening is when you give somebody a wider road, they take more risks. They're like, oh, look at this wide pavement now. I can definitely prop my feet up, put my little Netflix on there, and I'm gonna eat a cheeseburger while I drive. Now, I kind of joke when I say that, but I'm actually seeing that on the road. And that's scary, right? I'm sure a lot of us can speak to some scary things we've seen out on the roadway with people being distracted, with all these different things. So from an engineering standpoint, we look at everything. We try to add rumble strips, chevrons. We try to make sure that we have flatter slopes. We are doing a better job of designing our roadways, and that's what we're tasked to do. But then that comes to the education piece, and that's why we're here today. We need everybody's help to put a dent in this thing. From an education standpoint, Sarah and I have been going to visit with superintendents. We've been going to the different commissioners' courts, and we're offering our services to come to any activities that you all have within your respective county or your different precincts. If you have a get-together with somebody, if you want to put out information, we'll be happy to come in and visit with people. We have a rollover demonstrator that can show you the impacts of when a vehicle rolls over. and if you're wearing your seatbelt versus not wearing your seatbelt, right? And so that's a very good visual of what happens. We have a lot of things that we do. Our goal is to try to educate as many people as we can, and we're trying to educate children as well, because, you know, the children sometimes tend to be an example. You know, they emulate what they see. And if their parents aren't putting their seatbelt on or putting the phone down, they're gonna do that when they get out there on the road. So we're trying to get them, go to schools, talk to the little ones, so they, you know, when we go to some of these events, the little ones go like, I ask them, and we'll ask them a question, hey, did mom and dad put the seatbelt on every time? And they kind of look at their mom and like, and you see the mom and dad, like, hey, don't tell on me, you know, but you can tell. But we hope that starts sparking a change, right? And that's the, I can tell you, when I became an engineer, never in my wildest did I think that a large part of what I did was to educate people. But that's where we're at, and that's what we need to do. And so that's why we wanted to come here today, and I'll let Sarah speak to some of this.
So we do have this handout for y'all with our 2022 data. And so last year for Tyler County, we did have 7 fatalities. That is low compared to some of our other counties, but 1 fatality really is just too many. And we've done better this year overall for fatalities for our district. We're at 86, correct, for so far this year. But still, we still have, you know, the holidays coming up. That's when we really see an uptick in those. And so we're really trying to get out and visit with as many people ahead of those upcoming holidays to really get the word out. And maybe we won't have as many this year. We can hopefully end 2023 below 100 fatalities. That would be great. So.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. And like what Sarah was mentioning too, when we're looking at this fatalities that happen, looking at the facts, and you'll be able to see this with the sheet that we're going to leave behind for you. Of the 142 fatalities that happened last year within the 8 counties that make up the Beaumont district, 49% of them, 49% were not wearing a seatbelt. So 70 people could be here today if only they would have worn a seatbelt. Now, I know sometimes people might be like, well, you know, the seatbelt's just one thing, and you're absolutely right. But what we hear from law enforcement a lot is that they've never pulled a dead person from a vehicle if they were buckled up. You know, obviously it depends on the damage that was incurred by the vehicle, right? But that's kind of one of those things that if we can raise that awareness, we can help change that mindset that some people have. That can save so many lives. You know, one of the things that we look at as well is when we're analyzing the fatal crashes, were the people local or were they passing by? You know, so that gives us an opportunity to be like, okay, are our signs good? You know, are striping good? Are we making our roads safe to where anybody that comes through our district is going to know what to do in every situation, right? So that's the engineering component. But then we also look at behavioral, and that's what a lot of this is. You know, when you start looking at distracted driving, when you look at single vehicle run off the road, speeding, alcohol, all of that is a behavior issue. People need to put their phones down. People need to pay attention to what they're doing. And that's where we need help. So we would definitely appreciate any assistance that we can get from you all as far as spreading the message to you all, you know, to your constituents, to your employees within the county. And also, if you have an opportunity that you'd like for us to come and present, we would love to do that. So, anything else?
If y'all want more of these, we can get more of these to you. If you want to put them in your offices for people, just let us know. We'll be happy to send some over.
And something that we can do also is we can make these fact sheets specific to the counties. So you can see exactly for the fatals that happen within Tyler County, exactly what is it that costs each one of them. You know, and we can give that kind of data so that way we can see, hey, where can we help with this, right? So we're diving in. We're doing a whole lot more involvement than we've ever done in the past, but we need to educate a lot of people. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do in the Beaumont district to help make things a little bit safer and hopefully get us to zero soon.
Martin, what's the percentage of fatalities for DWIs in the state of Texas of these? Do you have a,
So I don't know the exact, I can find it,
yeah,
but I don't know the exact number of DWIs. Do you
But,
Yeah.
but alcohol is one of the top 3 crash factors for
Okay.
our district,
and then texting and driving, I'm sure that's kind of.
distracted driving.
Yes, sir. So like some of the facts that we have, like I mentioned earlier, the unbelted, unrestrained, 49% within the Beaumont district. Driving under the influence, 32%. Single vehicle run off the road, 33%. Bikes, pedestrian, 15%. Motorcyclists, 13%. Intersection collisions, 14%. And head-on collisions, 22%. So when you look at these and we dive into these facts, right? A head-on collision, a lot of times is a result of, let's say I'm arguing with Sarah, I would never argue with Sarah, she always wins. But say I'm arguing with Sarah and, as I'm distracted, a lot of people tend to go in the direction they're looking at, right? And that can cause a collision. Sometimes we're like, oh, I missed the scene from my favorite show. I'm gonna pull up that phone and there I go, right?
I can't imagine watching the show.
But intersection collisions, a lot of times we see that people they see that yellow and they floor it instead of covering the brake, right? And sometimes people don't wait when that light turns green. They don't wait to clear that intersection. We take off because we're in a hurry to get everywhere a lot of times, and that's sadly kind of what happens, right? When we look at a lot of these, it's so much behavior that we could just make such a huge dent if we start changing our driving habits at all. So thank you all so much for your time and allowing us the opportunity to come and share this with you. And we would love to be able to leave these with you all. Just, again, any opportunity to come and speak, we would.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
We appreciate that. Thank y'all. Any questions from the court?
It might be nice to maybe even have a safety meeting.
Yeah.
And them come.
Then on safety, for sure. And we may be able to get with y'all on something like that on safety.
This is just something that I saw happen last week, but it just amazes me. I sometimes think people should have to take a refresher course or something on what red lights, yellow lights, there was a horrible accident last week right there in the middle of Spurgeon intersection. And for some reason, people, they just don't get the lights and what each light means. Because 92 has a yellow light, which means you can go through with caution. 1013 has a red flashing light, which means stop. And there's big old signs up there that say cross traffic does not stop. But yet, myself, I've experienced coming through there and people never stopping on 1013, just go right on through it. I don't know if they're taking chances like you say, but sometimes it's like people ignore the most basic things that they were taught in driver's ed. It blows my mind. And those were elderly people. They just went right straight across and never stopped. A big oil truck hit them. Didn't kill them, but it would have scared the mess out of me. But I don't understand how people are so distracted and don't recognize the basic symbols and what lights mean nowadays.
They may not have driver's education in school.
Well, they may not have, but and people may not can read anymore. I don't know, but there's two big old signs that says cross traffic, don't stop, and they'll just go right through it. And then people on 92 will stop at the yellow one. They'll stop right in the middle of the road,
And I think like what you mentioned, what probably a lot of people are making those assumptions that the ones that are stopped at the red probably think, because they don't look at that cross traffic stop, feel like it's a four-way stop, so then they take off. And so that can kind of, contribute to that. But you're absolutely right.
That is so bad right there. I don't know. I don't even think a red light would fix it. People just.
In Coleman was the same way.
Mhm.
Caution light, people coming, from Woodville, they just stop. I just roll down my window. Do this. Yellow, you can go, because I'm not gonna jump out there. But there was 18 wheelers that come top of that hill. You know what? they're gonna shut down for that stop car.
They'll go right on through it, but not on their own accord.
Scary.
I think what you said a while ago is a big factor. People just so in a hurry nowadays. They cannot get there fast enough.
Yes, sir. No, you're absolutely right, and I think that's something that we can all do a little bit better. I can tell you, I'm guilty of it. Sometimes we're all busy. You know, we get a lot of phone calls, we get a lot of texts, we get a lot of emails, things like that. But you know, recognizing that they can wait, right? And a lot of times, like we'll put our phones in the back seat to make sure that we're not distracted by that. You know.
Good idea.
So I know sometimes my boss calls me and is like, well, I tried. Yeah, I was on the road, so, you know, but yeah, we have to kind of make some changes sometimes. But thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Well, we will move to item number D, ratify our memorandum of understanding, our MOU with San Jacinto County. And what this is, guys, is it's the same, everything else looks good. It's the same MOU that we had with San Jacinto before. We had to go up on the price to be able to house inmates. It's no longer $55 a day. It is now $75 a day. So to be able to house them, we've been going through a lot of troubles having to be able to place inmates, and we finally found a place here in San Jacinto, and it's $75 a day. So this is something that I believe that we've got under control right now. We're trying to get it. I know, thank goodness for Judge Gibbs and for our DA's office. They're working hard to get a lot of stuff and make us some room. But you just put this in your mind, at $75 a day, an inmate will cost over $2,500 a month for $75 a day. So that's a lot of money. But we looked around everywhere else. There's just no room anywhere else. There is one other place, I think, in Eagle Pass. Is that correct, Donald? I think there was a place in Eagle Pass. Yeah, you don't know. To take them, and it was $75 a day as well. So we're
That's what Mr. Joe had.
yeah. So we're definitely just prayerful that we can get this under wraps. We're doing our best through county court as well to try to plea out as many as we can and go through this where we can make room in our jails. So
I move to ratify the memorandum of understanding with San Jacinto County.
there's a motion. Second. There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same.
Renee, we got to cancel county court because they planned out.
Yes, you thought, I mean, yeah.
Yes.
It's not gonna affect me.
The jury trials.
All right.
Jury trials, not please.
Item number E5E, we're ratify the selection rating committee for the U.S. Service for the Community Wildfire Defense Grant Program through the U.S. Department of Agriculture for the grant application and the implementation project and community wildlife protection plan. Do we know who all was on that? Did we?
Jackie she's out.
You want to understand it's Jackie Skinner, Joe Blackshear, and the EOC coordinator.
Okay, all right. And that's what we're asking, that it would be the EOC, Joe, and then Jackie for that. Okay. All right. Is there any questions to any of that?
I'll put that in form of a motion.
There's a motion.
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same. As of right now, that would be Trish, so we would have to ratify that. If,
Well, you say the EOC.
yeah, I guess we could leave it at that.
Coordinator is,
Yeah. Just depending on, they may make us do some kind of thing from the court. All right, item number F, recommendation for the selection rating committee to award an administration planning company for the preparation of submission of a grant application to the U.S. Forest Service for the Community Wildlife Defense Grant Program through the U.S. Department of Agriculture for Community Wildlife Protection Plan.
Wildfire.
Wildfire, well, my mouth
I hear you.
got quicker. All right, wildfire, protection plan.
I put it in form of motion.
There's a motion?
And that was on our committee we just talked about?
Yeah,
For
the committee.
EOC.
But I haven't met to select this.
No, but this will give, Commissioner Court is gonna give them approval to be able to do that,
Select it, okay.
to select that.
Just wanna be clear.
That's my understanding.
I'll second it.
There's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say. All right, item number G, recommendation for the selection rating committee to award a grant administration company for the preparation of and submission of a grant application to the U.S. Forest Service for the Community Wildfire Defense Grant Program through the U.S. Department of Agriculture for a Community Wildfire Implementation Project. All right,
Worded.
yeah.
Well, I think we'd have to, is there a timeline on this?
Yeah, 'cause we've got to have a recommendation from the committee.
Yeah, we had to have a recommendation from the committee,
But we're
so,
not recommending right now, right?
No.
Okay, all right.
So we need to just table that, I guess, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
all right, well, we're gonna table this. Item number
Gee.
5G will be tabled at this time.
Let's vote
All right, need a
on it.
vote.
Make a motion to
and
table it.
There's a motion to table it, second.
Second.
All right. Is that correct? All in favor, say aye.
we were on, F, the
F and
FN.
G, because we don't have the, we just
Okay.
appointed the committee.
All right, well, we did G, so let's go back and do, on F.
Motion to table.
There's a motion to table F. Second, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed, same. Item number H, renewal of annual software maintenance for e-filing, county clerk with 3 verticals, net data. That's just a normal
Yes,
re-up, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Motion to approve.
there's a motion to approve, need a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, same. All right, item number I, renewal of Tyler County Airport Industrial, Airport Hangar Lease number 5 for Bertrand Jeton.
Yes, sir. I make a motion to, extend his lease for another 5 years.
Okay, another 5 years.
Yes, sir.
Second.
There's a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, same. All right. Item number J, airport policy for hangar number 3 for Bertrand Jeton, leasing.
I'll put that in form of a motion.
All right. And that's the same 5 years?
Well, this is a different, this
It's
is
a
another
different-
hangar spot that he's just leasing the property.
Okay, leasing the property.
The other one, I mean, yeah, the ground, the other one was the building that the county owned.
Okay.
5-year lease on.
Okay.
On the, airport hangars, it's, I think we did those as 2 10-year increments.
Okay.
So at any time, you know, either one can opt out of the contract. or whatever.
And that's just the regular,
Regular,
policy that we
yeah,
had for
yeah.
25 cents.
He's building a new hangar out there. We actually have 3 new hangars being built right now. So
Good.
I'm glad to see some activity.
One of them is almost complete too, oh, Kevin, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, he
pretty nice hangar there.
So item number J, you put that in the form of motion?
Yeah. And you
Second.
Second it.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same. All right, item number K, to set maximum number of election clerks, 3 election clerks plus 1 election judge for the special joint election constitutional amendment, City of Ivanhoe, City of Woodville, on November the 7th, 2023. Madam Clerk, do you have anything to add on that?
No, sir, we just need to approve, the maximum number's 3. Doesn't mean they have to hire 3, but, some of them will for sure need 3 because they've got these other elections going on too.
I need a motion.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion to
Second.
approve. Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right, item number L is appoint Sergeant Donald Calhoun as the Tyler County representative of the Regional Communications Work Group for DETCOG effective October 1st, 2023. The purpose of this group is to assist in managing the text warrant system with the DETCOG region. I've just made a recommendation to the court. Donald is the only one, Sergeant Calhoun's the only one that we truly have in the county who knows the radio business of the county. And it would be a wonderful benefit for us, for him to be able to represent us. And he was willing to represent us. I didn't just put it on there. I asked him before we did. And I just make a recommendation to the court.
I'll put it form of a motion.
There's a motion. Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed say. All right. Item number M, variance filed by Timberland Branch subdivision being developed by Jocelyn Development Group, LLC. The developer is requesting a variance to be relieved from the requirements of the following: sections 2.2D, sections 2.3F, sections 3.2, section 6.3A, sections 3.6, section 6.3D, section 6.3E, certificate in appendix G, certain financial guarantees in chapter 9. Mr. Marshall, did you have something on that?
Yes, sir. We implemented the subdivision regulations that we've gotten from another county. And some of these requirements, are just really not enforceable, I would guess you would say, in Tyler County. I'd have to go through each one of these separate. Section 2.2. I know one of them is having a fire marshal inspect each one of his 20 to 30 acre tracts of timber he's trying to sell. We don't have a fire marshal in our county, so I mean, it would not be very smart for us to have it. I don't think on our subdivision regulations to require that. Let's see, 2.2. Which one?
What is our engineer recommending? Do you know?
Well, we hadn't got a.
I've got a letter from our engineer.
Recommendation from the engineer.
Did you get it? Yeah, I did get a letter from the engineer that recommended that they follow the guidelines of the subdivision.
Well, and there are some variances granted in that.
Yeah, there was some that
There are
was
some
granted.
things that they'll have to go back. But one thing that, is pointed out is that we need to make sure that, we have some changes we need to make. Buck and I have met with Jed, a while back, and we need to really get that going. We got one more meeting Wednesday, and, hopefully we'll have something to present to the court to make these our regulations and not
Okay.
necessarily something that's regulating Austin,
So is this something that just in,
Your Honor?
Yeah.
Your Honor, this is Tom Fortenberry here representing, Johnson Development Group, LLC.
yes, sir.
I apologize. I wasn't able to be there in person. This was a matter that I asked the court to consider. And if I may have a moment after y'all deliberate, I'd like to say a few things about it.
Okay, we will allow you that, Mr. Fortenberry.
I think we'll let him go ahead and speak.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, well, let speak to us, that way we can hear you out there.
Okay, perfect. Again, as you know, the Kurt Johnson Development Group has been working on the Timberland Branch subdivision for almost a year now, a little over a year. And for all intents and purposes, the subdivision is complete. The roads have been installed. The only thing that has not been completed at this point is Entergy has delivered the power poles. They're just waiting for Entergy to actually install the poles in the ground. Everything else has been done. Everything else has been paid for. And so we're here asking the court to go ahead and grant the remaining items that the engineer has pointed out in a prior letter that were outstanding in order for the subdivision to be approved by the engineer so that the court could then consider the plat and finalize that and get the plat approved. What I did was I wrote a variance request in the form of a letter to the commissioners addressing each one of the items that the engineer had addressed in his original letter, and either provided that we complied with that or requested a variance. As of Friday, the engineer was kind enough to send a letter back to us. I believe y'all have that in front of you, addressing each of those points in my variance request and his response. And so it looks like, having read through his response, and we were all blessed to follow each other's numbering schemes. So if you look in the engineer's letter, his number 4 corresponds with my first variance request, which was number 4, which was the number 4 in his original letter. And if I start there, the engineer basically requested to be relieved of the requirement to supply the requirement of doing a groundwater availability study. The engineer in his letter back on Friday, he agreed with that request and recommended that you guys, that the court approve that particular request. The next request that we had was a request allowing us to be relieved of the requirements that Commissioner Marshall had mentioned about the fire marshal reviewing the subdivision. The engineer agreed and recommended approving that variance request. Item number 6, we had requested a variance for the requirement that the road of the subdivision intersect the county road at a 90-degree angle. And the engineer has taken the position that on number 6, that they did not recommend the court granting that request. I, here on behalf of the developer, point out that several of the commissioners have actually seen this road, and this has not been an issue raised by the commissioners at all in this particular case. The subdivision regulations provide that if a road is going to intersect the existing road at an angle less than 90 degrees at certain widths and breadths in terms of turn radiuses be designed, I believe we have exceeded that. Of course, the engineer has not actually seen the road that we've built, but the commissioners have, and so I'm asking the court ignore the engineer's recommendation on this one and grant that variance request anyway. The court certainly has the authority and power to do so.
Hey,
With
Tom.
respect to
Tom,
number 7,
let me ask you right quick.
yes,
Hey, do you know what degree that the angle is of that road? I mean, it's not much under 90 degrees.
60 degrees.
it's not, but I don't know the specific degrees.
That's what Jed said, according to their drawing, 60 degrees.
It don't seem like it's that much to me.
Tom, this is Commissioner Blacksher here. For one, y'all came to the court a year ago, and this application was filed within probably the last month. And then it's got all these requests for variances. Well, we've had several subdivisions come in, and we have granted a few variances, and we do have to make some changes on our regulations, but a lot of this, kind of undermines what our regulations are for. And I'm going to go with what sir?
I respectfully disagree, Commissioner. The only things in here that the engineer has pointed out that they disagreed with in terms of our variance request were the 90-degree angle on the road, and they had some stipulations about the surface, the road surface base.
Yes.
They conditionally said that was okay to grant, given that the county was adopting some second-tier provisions for subdivisions like this one. So I don't think that any of the requests in here strike against
Well, we're gonna have to modify our regulations for sure, because.
I have not received anything else from him after the fact that we've gotten that. I have not received the letter that you're talking about, Tom. I have not received anything, stating that everything you're telling us that he come back in compliance and agreed with you. I have not received anything from the engineer on anything like that. I don't have that letter before me.
Well, it was sent to the county, Your Honor.
Mm.
And so, and I know I've at least forwarded it to one of the commissioners, but it was sent to, the county. Here, we'll pull that up.
Well, we've always went with what what Jed, the GLS, engineer has recommended, and I move that we go with his recommendation. That's what we've done on every other subdivision. And
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on this.
Well, I distinctly remember when we started our subdivision regulation, the fact on the 90-degree angle, that we said we would leave it in there, but we would look at it on a case-by-case basis. If somebody's wanting to build a road that wouldn't work, we got to use our common sense to be able to decide whether it's something that would work or not. And with the engineer not even looking at the road and just looking at a piece of paper, I don't think we should use his recommendation on that. We have a better road built than what the county road is that it's coming off of. So, it's.
Well, and I understand that, but the whole deal is the precedent. That's what Jed's saying. You set a precedent on it, and then that's where the problem comes in.
Well, on a case-by-case basis, what's the precedent?
Well, the developer can come back and say, hey, well, you gave it to them, and then
Well,
that's just what Jed.
On the same degree of angle of the road, sure. If their road is in that same shape or whatever, I can see it.
Is this one? That's it right there.
Commissioners, I will point out that the letter that Jed Morris sent, he did send on Friday, and all of y'all were copied on that email.
I got it.
So you should all have that in the file.
Well,
If not,
I didn't get that in my file anyway, so, that's the last one and I did not get a chance to read over that. The last one that I got from Jed for myself was showing August 31st. That's the last one that I received. So into my emails, that's why I'm stating that I didn't have that.
Well, I don't think at this point that it's possible for him to change the angle of the road. The road has been built, and he spent thousands of dollars to do it. So, we either give him a variance or we.
So
deny him the whole
is that
thing.
the only thing on all the variances that, Tom, that you're saying that, that you and him are in disagreement on?
Yes, those are the only things in terms of that we have disagreement on, except going through here. The 90-degree road was the only thing. The surface top having to be asphalt, concrete, or some hollow mix. He said that he was okay with relaxing that requirement, given that as long as the road that it ties into isn't already asphalt, concrete, or some hot asphalt mix. And in this particular case, I think the road is as good or better than the county road that it ties into for certain. So he and I didn't disagree on that. The only thing I found in here that we disagree on is that 90-degree thing, and I'm certain that's because he hasn't seen the road. And he had a question about the minimum roadside ditch depth of 18 inches, and the ditches are 18 inches or more, and that it being designed, it requires drainage to be designed for a 10-year flood event, and my client certainly submits that it was designed for those kinds of things. The quality of materials and all of the construction techniques used were top-notch. They were certainly done in a way that is looking for the longevity and I found in what the engineer provided, other than he said that while the, financial requirements for financial guarantees, we requested that to be waived, given that the roads, the infrastructure's already been put into place. The county typically would require that when approving a subdivision that has not been built, just to ensure that if it's approved, that there's a financial backing to be able to finish that infrastructure. All of the infrastructure, say that except the electric poles, has been installed, and so that's not really a concern for the county. As well as, the engineer did point out that the county may want to require a 2-year maintenance bond on the constructed improvements. And again, if that's what the county requires, we have no problem standing behind the road or the infrastructure. So.
Well, and also on the 12B, it says well, I'll go above that. I recommend that the variance request be granted if the following conditions are met. The variance regarding the impervious pavement address above, which is, that's gonna be taken care of in the variance above. And then the sealed statement provided by the engineer that the roads were constructed to meet. Do we have that sealed statement?
If the court wants that, then I can certainly get that to submit that to the court for consideration.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to.
But again,
Not trying to be difficult.
Commissioners have seen the road, and so I think some of this is, I understand the concerns about precedent and whatnot, but in the future, if ever a situation presented itself like this, I would hope we would have adopted new subdivision rules that would be more applicable to this kind of a development, as well as the future variances along these lines will also be granted. Because again, we've not asked for anything that was, harmful to the public or anything unreasonable.
No, sir. But the first step in doing this is getting the application and getting it filed, and then starting on the subdivision is the way it's supposed to work. But, like Jed was telling me, reverse engineering is it's almost impossible to do.
Is there a reason Jed was not able to be here?
Man, he's so tied up right now.
He's very tied up, and I think he's very weary with this situation.
This project actually was started before we ever implemented our subdivision regulations. So it's kind of hard for somebody to, go back and.
Well, he came in court for this a year ago.
Who did?
Tom.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, and
I know I'm just one member here myself. My recommendation would be that we could hear from Jed as well, face to face or on the phone, just like we are from Tom.
I can try calling him, but I don't know that he'll
that's
answer.
definitely, because I want to, like I said, I didn't receive that, Tom. And whether it was just an overlook or what, all I'd received is what I'd gotten from Jed from August 31st about the things that he felt that was not appropriate and that needed to be fixed. And then I got the letter, the letter that you had given the court, asking for those certain variances. So I have not got a chance to hear from Jed on any of that. My thing, and this is just me speaking, I'll worry that if you don't follow what the engineer recommends, that if you have someone else come in at a later date that is building that same subdivision or something, and they don't follow the recommendations, then we could get into the fact that, hey, you allowed this one to do it, why wouldn't you allow us to do it on certain recommendations? And I know it's going to be up to the court on a lot of these different things.
And as an attorney, Your Honor, I completely understand that. However, I also, having been a public servant and been the mayor of Woodville for a while, and understand how these things work, I think engineers are designed, that they do what they do, and Jed is making the requirements he's making because he has insurance requirements. And he doesn't want anything to come back on him. But by everybody taking such a conservative view that we're just gonna always rely on other people's recommendations, and until we can get someone to provide us cover, then what's happening is we're actually harming our citizens. Because we're basically saying, if anybody that goes out there and looks at this subdivision, and I'd love to hear from several commissioners that have been out there, looking at what's been built is probably one of the nicest subdivisions in Tyler County. And so, again, we're talking about theoretical things, but we have to weigh against that is the imbalance of a real citizen in Tyler County, the increasing our tax base and being friendly to development. And again, I don't think that by granting a variance, the one or two items that we really only disagreed with the engineer about, that would go from the floodgates to anything other than to state and say to the community and the business community at large that our commissioner's court is going to be reasonable. And our commissioner's court is going to do what it takes to promote development. And by doing so, you attract people that want to come here and do good things for our citizens and increase the overall, raise the votes for everybody. And by looking to this and saying, unless an engineer gives us their approval, I think it's the wrong message to send. You guys are the commissioner's court. You are all very intelligent men, and you have a ton of knowledge with respect to roads and building, and it's not something that you guys are new at. You all know, you can go out there and look at the road, some of you have seen it, and you can tell, hey, we'd be glad to have this subdivision here. And so I don't think we need to be looking for an engineer to bless something that I think you already know that it's okay. You're just trying to find a way to do it in a way that satisfies the requirements of getting that engineer's blessing. And I'm just saying we don't need it.
Well, there's no doubt, Tom, I can speak for each one of these guys on the commissioner's court. We do want the best for Tyler County, but I want to be able to follow the regulations that we set forward too. That way that we're not doing anything that in, future that would hurt us in any way. That's my biggest thing is someone coming in at a later date.
Well, I personally don't think anything that they're asking for is gonna hurt us.
Well, my thing, Mike, I would like to hear from Jed, as well. And just see.
With all due respect, commissioners, I will say this. These rules were adopted without the commissioner's court understanding what they meant. Okay, so the damage was done a couple of years ago. Okay, all we're trying to do is now ask for the wrong.
I disagree.
By granting variance for a previous subdivision. And then let us work towards getting the rules that fit what needs to be done in the future for our county.
Tom, may I ask you what would hurt if we were to table this until our next commissioner's court meeting? What would it hurt if we did that and then have you both face to face and Jed in here where we could hear both of you out?
It just costs my client more time and money, Your Honor, and that's it. It just costs one of the citizens time and money, that's all.
And I understand that, Tom, and I understand that completely, but I'm not, I know I'm never going to be able to vote really until that 2-2 tie anyway, but I'm just telling you, the way I feel today is just from me expression is that the fact that I don't want to do anything that would hurt us in the future, and that's my thing.
And Tom, we do have to amend some of these. That's why we've been working on these regulations. And yes, it was new and it was difficult to understand at the time we adopted them. But we got a good understanding. We've enforced everything according to the regulations, and we've used JED on everything. I'm not an engineer. Yeah, I'm intelligent, but I'm not an engineer. This is what this guy does day in and day out. So I'm gonna go with what he recommends, because I mean, I rely on Jed. I talk to him almost on a daily basis on the subdivision. They're coming, and we just gotta protect our citizens and not get something like over in Plum Grove that's gonna be devastating to our county. That's why we adopted the rules in the first place. We don't want something like that. And yes, that is a nice place out there, but, you know, like I said, you came to court last year, and y'all could have filed an application. We could already have this thing going and done. But now it's been forced upon us and won't grant all these variances. And yes, we need to change it. Yes, this is gonna force us to take a good, serious look at changing it, and I think we should. In fact, for example, in Warren, Texas, I had to turn somebody away because they went and drew 11-acre tracts and put a road just like this. And you know what? They sold it because at the time I was sticking by the regulations. And I mean, I'd be doing a disservice to them. You know, this guy pretty much sold out and left, split it in three tracks so he wouldn't do it and left. So we do need to change some things. But, you know, I'm always gonna go with what Jed, he's a professional in this industry, and I'm gonna go with what he recommends.
And I'm not saying that, Tom, by any means that I disagree, you know, that the fact that Jed is the engineer, there's no doubt about it. Maybe we do need to look at some things and change some of the variances, but I would like to see him face to face as well, being an engineer. Just like I know you and I work with you many times as an attorney, I know you have a job as well, and he has a job as well as an engineer, where he can explain some of those things to myself and the commissioner's court.
And attached to that letter, Judge, is the changes we need to make. And then also, he's done it in red ink, and we need to have public hearings and change those things. Because if we approve his letter right here, it does approve some of the variances. So we need to act on that, because we don't want to harm our citizens. And then also, we're having a meeting with some Lyle Rainey, Billy Reed, and a guy, Michael, and Buck, and myself, and Jed. And we're gonna sit down and we're gonna make these what's good for Tyler County. And then we'll present it before the court.
Yeah, and I think in the letter, I've read the letter extensively on my phone and everything. He's not opposed to granting most of the variances.
Yeah.
I mean, he's okay with that. I mean, I spoke with him Saturday. I called him, and he said that, you know, he's not opposed to it, and he thinks we definitely need to go back, for instance, like this meeting Wednesday, and review this thing. And it can be egregious. Is that the right word? To some developers or whatever. And like, I think I saw one thing where the subdivision titles will be changed to minor and major.
Yeah.
And I think after Wednesday and meeting, we'll have some way to bring this all together.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've seen all that out there. I mean, I know it's a nice facility, you know, but I mean, I'm not opposed to it at all, but I'm just think it should be done decently and in order, like the judge is saying, because you'll open yourself up to lawsuit and cans of worms that you didn't want to ever fool with.
Totally agree.
If y'all come and have this meeting Wednesday,
Wednesday.
well, if y'all have this meeting Wednesday and we can work some things out, is that something we could have a special commissioner's court meeting?
Well,
and set
we
it
can
up?
adopt it. We'll have to do a public
A
hearing.
public hearing, but set
Yeah,
all
we can
that?
set all that up, and then, you know, bring something to the court. I think Kelly's even got it typed up, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's already got it typed up. The only thing, our last meeting is Wednesday that we're gonna have, and we should have a recommendation for the court, a final. I mean,
Your Honors, just for clarity on my end, I don't want to make sure that I'm not having to wait on adoption of new set of rules at large before we can move forward with planning on this. If I work with Jeff to make sure that he's comfortable with the 90-degree angle by maybe sending in actual photos of the road, and I get him to bless it. would the court then at that point consider this a resolved matter and be able to grant those variances if I can get the engineer to recommend that to you guys?
Then what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he
If
basically,
if that's what, you know, you and Jed can get on the same page on that and get things together and then both of you, you know, we wanna hear it as well from him, you know, on these things, because I think we're looking to our engineer on this, so if you could get that together, Tom, we're more than willing to move forward with that.
And also in 12B, the sealed statement provided by the engineer that the roads are constructed which meet exceed requirements of section 3.5, chapter 4, and appendix M of the subdivision regulations should be submitted. Please note that chapter 4 requires minimum roadside ditch depth of 18 inches, and appendix M requires drainage to be designed for a 10-year flood event. And I think that's the only two.
yeah, the rest of them are.
He did leave the issue of the financial, guarantee requirement, he just left that up to the court's discretion.
Yes, sir.
Are you okay with?
And we didn't require that for Lakeland Ranch. So I don't see it, I mean, I don't think we are gonna expect y'all to do
Yeah,
that.
if it wasn't in our regulations and we didn't.
Well, it's up to
require
the
it,
court, and we didn't require.
We
Lakeland
shouldn't
Ranch.
require that for y'all as well.
Is it 12B,
All right.
did you say?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, well,
Well, what do we need to do here? Do we need to table this?
I need to call a special meeting.
I will leave you to your vote, and again, I would just
But we need to call a special meeting.
all the variances be granted, but I understand your position, and given if the vote fails or doesn't happen, then I will work with Jeb on Plan B. So,
Well, commissioners, do y'all have a recommendation?
Make a motion to table it.
There's a motion, we table it, and then second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Uh,
Any opposed, same. All right.
Okay, but what I.
Thank you very much, Tom. I appreciate your time, and I want you to know, as far as this commissioner's court, I promise you, we want the very best for Tyler County, and there's no doubt about it.
Tom, get with Jed, and see, get the pictures and everything, and just, you know, if we have to call a special meeting, we'll do it, but we need to make sure that he's okay with, you know, the recommendation.
It dies for lack of.
Thank you very much.
It does.
All right, do we have any comments by court members pertaining to matters of county government?
Yes, I have an update on the courthouse. They're saying October 20th now.
October 20th.
Yeah. So, and also we did a Friday, I believe it was, the courthouse tried backing up again from the line out here. So Burtis was able to get one of our pumps we had at the county barn and pump it out before it did backflow. And then, they put in a backflow prevention valve. So from now on, as it backs up on the city side,
It's going out the
it's
street.
going on the street now. So, but,
In our basement.
yeah, because this is the second time that it's flooded, and then, you know, that would have been the third. And it's just turned in, it's probably gonna be over $100,000 of insurance money to get that. Because once you take all that stuff out, you gotta go back with the historic stuff. So we're still waiting on CMOS, the people that are doing this work, to get us an estimate. And then as soon as Serpro gets their receipts, we'll be able to move forward with that.
Okay.
That's where we're at, but this should be plastered within the next couple of weeks. But, the 20th of October is when they're actually gonna put the, numbers on the faces. So that's coming.
Well, I would like to say, this Thursday, we have our DEDCOG meeting at the Family Life Center over here at First Baptist Church. We invite all of our elected and appointed officials to come take part of that, and that is at noon. So we invite y'all to be there to take part of that. I think we got some good chicken fried steak for us, and we would like to say, I'd like to say to James Guest and them, thank you for their Lineberger is sponsoring us And they took care of the meals for us, so we thank God for that. There's no doubt about it.
Y'all are cooking?
May I say something real quick?
Yes, ma'am.
Lord, hallelujah for the blinds in my office.
Yes. There you go.
And in the courtroom.
And in the courtroom too.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it makes it better.
We actually can see you now.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no blur back there, which that made me a little bit worse out there, you know?
I'm just looking at the windows, I'm very thankful. I like that window.
Do we have anything else?
I don't.
Anything for the court? All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
There's a motion, second, all in favor, say aye. All right, adjourn.